You hope things will get better, but something needs to change. You need to be saved before you lose control. You could be surrounded by friends and family, yet you still feel all alone.
So in order to talk about what mental health stigma is, we first have to break down what mental health is and what stigma is. A mental health illness is actually a condition that can affect one's thinking, feeling, and mood. Some of the most common mental disorders are personality disorders, mood disorders, eating disorders, and schizophrenia. So living with a mental illness can affect every aspect of one's life, including personal and intimate life, as well as their social and interactive life. Someone suffering with a mental disorder can feel alone in a room with 50 people and feel crowded in a large place by themselves. And most people who suffer from one illness actually end up suffering from 2 or more illnesses due to the lack of the education on how to actually cope with these illnesses. Stigma is the extreme disapproval or disgrace of a person or group of socially characteristic grounds that are perceived and serve to distinguish them from other members of society. So in other words, stigma is prejudging, labeling, and stereotyping someone negatively based on their personality, disability, and or their status. When it comes to mental health stigma, this is the way those that suffer from mental health issues are actually perceived by society. Not only does society look at those with mental health disorders like, they're not a part of the rest of society because of what they're going through, but they're also looked at as dangerous to society. And they're also shunned and looked at as if they created their own problems. When it comes to the mental health stigma, people really need to understand that by creating this perceived nonsense about those that suffer, you can actually cause a lot more damage from the stigma than the mental health illness is actually causing itself. Let's put it this way. Imagine a woman who has breast cancer. Now, you see, society typically feels empathy for someone that has cancer, as we should. And we even have sports players, actors, artists, all those types of people, they wear the pink ribbons because they want to support those that are suffering, with this terrible cancer. But now let's imagine, instead of wearing pink ribbons, we started blaming them for their disease. And we started telling them that it is their fault that they have this cancer. And let's just say that we started shunning them and that we started saying that a woman with breast cancer was not as much of a woman because of it. That is exactly what is happening to those who suffer from mental health diseases, sadly. It's true. When you suffer from a mental health disease, the stigma of it is that you brought it all on yourself and that you're not a member of society because you may suffer. Sometimes they like to say that you're less of a man or a woman if you have certain mental illnesses such as depression or addiction. When you already have a war waging in your head like that, like a mental illness, that stigma that follows that can honestly kill someone, which is bringing me to the statistics of mental health stigma. Now, 450 million people suffer from mental illness worldwide. So to top that off, half of those that suffer aren't receiving the type of care that they need, let alone the education to know more about what is going on with their illness or how to cope. They're in places with little to no care, and there are higher rates of drug addiction, which actually just end up with those people that suffer, they end up in prison instead of getting the care that they need. More than half of those that are incarcerated are actually suffering from mental illnesses. 8.6 million U.S. adults have suicidal thoughts, and suicide is becoming the second leading cause of death in ages 15 to 24 and the third largest cause of death in older adults. It's time that we do something about this by breaking the stigma that surrounds mental health illness. Providing awareness and education. We need to get them help for their problems. Stop shunning them. Stop looking at them like they brought it on themselves. Stop treating them like they're dangerous, and stop acting like they are not members of society. We need to look at mental health diseases just as seriously as we look at other diseases, and we might bring these statistics down significantly and maybe even for good.